Hey everybody, it's Thursday.
And welcome to this week's edition of The Night Bite.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Emily. And thanks for being here with us tonight.
Yeah.
We usually start out with kind of a fishing report. One of the things that, I feel like I got to note first is how much of a weather change that we've had since last week when we were talking to you.
Yeah, 80 degrees Monday, and now we woke up, it was 48 degrees out in our yard, Clintonville, this morning.
So with that, we do have a fishing report from last weekend, but I imagine that going into this next weekend, things might be changing rather quickly. So last weekend, we were still finding water temps, in the 60s, mid to low 60s, depending on where we were at. We were actually out on the river both days. And I think as the water temp continues to drop, fishing will continue to get to be a little bit better. We did see some fish in a little bit more of a summer pattern. We did see some fish kind of moving more towards that fall pattern. So I think we are in that funny transition, but these colder nights are going to start pushing fish in that direction.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it might take a week or two just to get them to push up there. We're waiting on the wolf. We're waiting for that shiner spawn to start. So once that starts, everything will start pushing, following the minnows around, and then it's go time.
The other thing that's really notable as far as our fishing recently is 2 weeks ago, and just before that, we were talking about how high the water levels were. But we actually did have our water levels come back down quite a bit. And so it was kind of a drastic jump between the 2 different weeks there. And I think now we have not gotten a crazy amount of rain. So it should be kind of a little bit evened out, still a little bit low. But I'm interested in hearing, how your water levels are and where you guys are at. So make sure to drop that in the comments.
Yeah, absolutely. Then this weekend, we have something cool coming up. We're going up by Anigo, maybe a little bit north. We haven't figured that out yet. But our buddy Nick Anderson, we're gonna get him out on the boat.
That is always a really great time. Do always love going and seeing him. Sometimes we go up there and we have some really great luck, and sometimes it is pretty tough fishing, to be honest. So we'll see which of those days it's gonna be.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, awesome. So we will bring in our guest in a second. As we do that, you guys, if you have any questions or comments or things at home, definitely come and drop that in the comments, because we would love to, hear your questions or hear your stories about Steve. So let's bring him in. Shotgun Chef, thanks for being here.
Hey, how you guys doing tonight, man?
Great. How are you?
You guys going up to Anigo to chase what, crappies or something, or what?
I think when we go visit Nick Anderson, it's whatever bites.
Yeah. That's the main thing, is make your lines, have fun, catch something,
Yeah, that's for sure.
The perch I caught last week were so red, the tails were missing because they were feeding on the rocks. There must have been a bunch of little minnows in the rocks. And, they turned that bright red color on the bellies. Yeah. And they were dandies, seriously. So
yeah, they were. Those were some good ones you had.
And they definitely had to bite on. Everything I caught was hungry. It was swallowed. But they're waiting till you can get out there first light. It doesn't pay, guys. You got to warm up. I don't care what your fish for panfish. It has to get a little warmer. And I didn't start really nailing them till 7:30 when it went up a degree, the temperature. So
that's actually a really great point. Man, that gets me excited for, even ice season coming up.
Don't get too early on an ice junk, you guys.
So before we get too far into the fish talk, Steve, for somebody who doesn't know you, can you tell us about yourself?
Well, I work construction for a living. I'm a operating foreman for the gas company. I put in gas electric every day. But I met Larry 20-some years ago, 25, 26, 27 years ago. I was on Petenwell. My friend and I were fishing. We were just killing the walleyes on ice fishing. I don't really like ice fishing, but we were up there one right after another. And north of us, about a mile on the Yellow Banks, a group of guys came out with a 6-wheeler. And they set up, and I knew what it was. It was a guy. We didn't know who it was. Well, he kept watching us on our snowmobiles, catching fish. And about 10:30, 11 o'clock, he comes down talking to us. And he pulls up, and I didn't know who he was, and my one buddy goes, "Hey, that guy's on TV with Gillespie." So he's talking to us and asking us how we're doing. He sees all our walleyes on ice, and he's got his hand in his pocket, and I yanked his hand on. He had a GPS in his pocket. He was GPSing our holes. So that was Saturday, and he came back down about 1 o'clock, and he saw the smoke, and I was cooking on the ice for my buddies. We had grills out there, and he comes down, he eats with us. He's like, "Oh, this is pretty dang good stuff," you know. So that was Saturday. Sunday, we went out again and hit it hard. We caught a ton of fish, and he came down again, ate lunch with me. So then Monday morning, at that time, I had my own business, so I was out back Monday morning fishing. And all of a sudden, next, he comes out there and he's on my holes. I get there and said, "Dude, what are you doing? These are my holes." He goes, "Well, why don't you fish on me?" So then I fished with him that day. Then I made lunch for all his clients. And then he asked me to start helping guiding like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's how I hooked up with him. So ever since, his birthday's only, 7-8 days away from mine. We are identical, same age, same month. We're the same kind of people. So that's how I got hooked up with him. And then when he was talking, I think this is our 7th year on TV now. He was talking about 7.5, 8 years ago. He goes, "Hey, when I do the show, when I do get it," he says, "You want to do some segments?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, let me cook some wild game on your show for you and see how it goes over." Because, I was on Master Chef with Gordon Ramsay. I was out in California. I was down with the last 25 out there. And, I'm not a chef, but I know how to make stuff taste halfway decent. Christ, I cooked for your wedding, you guys,
Yeah. Yeah.
So ever since that, just like I told you guys before, I'm blessed. I'm nothing special. I got 2 kids that are awesome. I work every day. I put in 40, 50, 60 hours a week. And I see you guys and people fishing and hunting, and I just help. I try to help everybody. I feel sorry for like the last fall. I was in the river. This guy was with his girlfriend or wife, whatever. They were struggling. I was pulling in one fish right after another using a sauger slayer. And I drove my boat over by him. I said, "Do me a favor, put this on her line." I showed her how to use it. I grabbed her pole, put the bait on. I was jigging it. Within the 3rd jig, I had a fish on. So I handed her a pole. And then he ended up catching, she ended up catching 2 legal fish that day with that bait. And he come up to me later on. He's like, "Thank you." I says, "If you're going to take kids and women out fishing and you want to have fun, you better put them on something. I don't care if it's it makes your day a lot better." You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I do love to cook. Wild game is probably my specialty. You were with me, Emily, and when we were up at Midwest Sugar Supply, I shut that whole place down that day, cooking all those recipes that we had. So
yeah,
you're watching us cook. So
I do really love hearing your story about kind of how you and Larry met, because to be honest, I did not know that story. So that's actually really fun to hear about. But I do really like all the different times and places that we have bumped into you, because to be honest, I think I've bumped into you cooking like quite a few different times. And I do really remember out at Shooter Supply. That was a whole lot of fun down in Lamira, Wisconsin. Yeah. And there were a lot of people out there, and you cooked a lot of dishes.
Oh, hell yeah. I think I did 7 or 8 or 10 episodes that day and different stuff. I even made largemouth bass, and that's one of the toughest fishes that I know how to cook. I'm not lying to you guys. You have to slice it, let the stuff go through because they're so thick and the meat is so dense, it's hard to cook a largemouth bass. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, you guys, when we first were sponsored by Burger Smokehouse, you guys are going to Great America. Stopped in Waukesha, gave me crap that day when I was.
We sure did.
There was a ton of junkies there that day.
That is actually true.
We pretty much, I got hollered at the management that day because we shut down that corner there. There were so many people talking to me, eating the food, that he asked me to move because I had that whole area blocked off.
That's actually really awesome.
No, it's been good. And I'm not lying to you guys. I go places. I'm at work with all my work clothes on, sunglasses, hard hat, and people recognize me and ask me what I'm making for lunch. And it catches me off guard because I do a job that's pretty dangerous. I dig over top of gas and electric every day. I can blow a whole town up, and it's just crazy. All of a sudden, it's just like boom. They ask me questions.
Asking questions. That's really funny. So speaking of questions, if anybody at home does have questions for Shotgun, post them in that comment section. We will definitely get to them. Lots of people checking in and saying hello. So hello to all of you.
Hey, John P. Holtman, you guys. I think I brought a bottle of John's wine up to your wedding. He makes homemade wine for the show. Oh my God, it's phenomenal. Larry and I got so hammered out on Minnesota on Lake of the Woods a couple years ago on New Year's Eve. We passed a bottle of his wine around, tastes like church wine. and it was 17 below. Of course, it's that cold. You're drinking wine. Him and I and two other guys were just hammered in the shack.
It is really cool that it's homemade.
Yeah,
it is. Oh yeah, you go to his house. Where is he? By Beaver Dam area, and his house just stinks because he's got so many of those 6-gallon jugs fermenting of. He makes the best rhubarb wine. Oh my God, yeah, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, he gave me some applesauce 2 years ago, and it was so loaded with booze. And I brought it home, put it in the refrigerator, and my kids were like, "Dad, this is applesauce. It's great." I'm like, no, get hammered on applesauce. I had to hide it.
That's so funny. Chad here saying, "What's up?" and make some food. So what do you have that you're making next?
Actually, I don't know if you guys have been watching the show. We switched it a little bit. I had Josh come from Leroy Meats. He's a good friend of mine. He used to work at the Shores on Fox Lake. He's now the head chef at Mayville Golf Course, which Leroy Meats owns. So he came in. We used some of his recipes for like the pizza and pork chop and burgers and stuff. And now I think next Monday I'm going to the golf course and I'm making Larry's brats, the bucket bites. I'm going to take the center out jalapeno, put his sausage inside, put cream cheese, other stuff on top for like football games, have jalapeno bites. And I got people have been bugging me to show them how to make a turducken. You know what that is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have any tips on that?
I don't know. Oh yeah. That jalapeno one is so easy to make. I mean, you go to any store, I cheat. I mean, I'm going to take Larry's sausage, the brat, the bucket bite. You take the casing off, just take the meat and put it in a frying pan for a couple of minutes, get it like 3/4 of the way done. You take your jalapeno, scrape all the seeds off. I mean, you can leave some seeds in. It depends on how hot it wants. But put the cream cheese in there on the bottom. Put Larry's sausage on top of there. Put mozzarella cheese or Parmesan cheese. That's what I do. I use Parmesan and mozzarella, and I throw a little panko breadcrumbs on top. Throw it in the oven for a couple of minutes. Just get that. All depends on how soft you want the jalapeno. You can make it rubbery or you can make it stiff. So they put them on the table in front of your crowd and watch out, man. That's just, they're gone instantly. It actually is, because the cream cheese cuts the heat. So it's a damn good recipe. I mean, you could throw a little ragu or something next to it so you can dink it in some marinara sauce, but it's a good recipe for, stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, and very possible to make for a group. So if you're looking for a football recipe, something that's easy to throw together, but that's really kind of delicious and special for the game. That's actually a really great option.
Okay. You want something to make for your old man right there? I'm not lying to you guys. The girl I've been seeing, she came over to the house. You take watermelon and slice up as small as you can, like 1/4-inch cubes, 1/2-inch cubes, tomatoes, same way, same amount, watermelon, tomatoes. And then you just do the same thing with your yellow onion, your red onion, chop them up. And so if you put 2 cups of everything in there, throw sugar by taste. Because a lot of times your tomatoes are so bitter. You got to throw sugar and cut the bitter. Then you throw salt and pepper in there and chop up. All depends. Like I put 4 jalapenos in mine the other day with the seeds in them. And you put them in there and you put a little olive oil in there, stir it up. And then you take lime juice. Have it just all stirred up. Put about 2 or 3 or 4 limes, squeeze them in there. And let it sit overnight. I gave it to her. She took it to work, and it was probably a gallon. They went through 3 bags of those Doritos scoops. She said people were just like, "What is this?" They'd never had watermelon salsa. It was that good.
That does sound really good.
Yeah. You guys, it's so addictive. It's unbelievable. Once you start eating it, because the watermelon puts a sweet, but you got the heat in there, and it's a different flavor you're never going to have on a salsa with the watermelon, and it's crazy good. And she's like, "You got to give me the recipe." I said, "I'm not giving it to you." I said, "I'll make it for you. I'll give it to you." So, but that's another one I did on the show, and it was one of the best recipes I ever did on a show. I was cooking on Winnebago for Larry. He had guys up from Texas, and I told him what I was going to make. And so I met him in a bay. There was Justin Nye, Sean Wagner. He lives up by you guys, and they all knew I was out there. I made walleye Alfredo. So Larry's talking to these guys from Texas. He's like, "Man, I wish there was an Italian restaurant. It's like I could really go for some Italian food for lunch." Well, he pulls up. We do a live feed. And I got Alfredo going in my boat. The noodles I made at home. So I just warmed them up. I grabbed lake water, put it in a pan, warmed the noodles up, and I threw them on a plate, put the Alfredo on. I had Italian bread in there, cut it up. Justin Nye and his boy are fishermen. We were like, "This is insane, dude." So I had Larry and all those guys the plates, and they were laughing because they never thought they'd see Italian food on a lake at 12 o'clock and 90-degree weather. You know?
90-degree weather. Yeah, that's for sure.
It was hot, man. I'm not kidding you. It was hot. So then what we did a live feed, and it was, you ever like the commercial or Johnsonville sausage where the people are watching the guy cook? We had boats circling us on Winnebago waiting for us to get down the live feed. And after I said, come on, guys, all these boats swarmed my boat. And I was like handing plates out over the side of the boat. I didn't even get to eat that day. Everybody else on the lake ate my walleye Alfredo. So
that's actually really interesting because I don't know, when people think fish, they don't typically think Alfredo. So is there a tip to putting those flavors together, or you just do it and it works?
I'll give you a huge hint. When you do your walleye, I take my walleye and I boil it first, or I put it in a pan with white wine. So that way, leave it whole, and then you chunk it up in cubes. So that way it's already cooked. So when you get your Alfredo going, your noodles are done, then you throw the walleye on top of it. If you make the walleye and your Alfredo and your noodles, it's going to break up. It's going to be real chunky or small. You're going to be disappointed. So make that first, leave it sit down, cool, make everything else, and then just throw it into your Alfredo. And it's phenomenal. Matter of fact, I still got, like, Justin and I just sent me a message the other day, probably messaged me, here's your Alfredo recipe. He made it for the family. He loves it that much. So.
That's awesome.
That is really awesome.
So yeah, other than that, I mean, I watch TV and I just ad-lib some of the recipes and add wild game to it, so.
Yeah. That's actually really cool to kind of just be able to adapt it like that, because that's a skill that not everybody in the world has, which, what makes the skill of, being a chef so important and so unique to the show. And I think why there is so many questions. But we do have some other people throwing some foods out here. So Jacob is saying fishapino poppers. It just sounds awesome. I don't know if that's a real thing, but
I've never heard of it. But if he sends me the recipe, probably mess me, I'll make the dang thing because I'm good for anything.
There you go, Jacob.
Yeah, private message, Jacob. Send it to me.
Yeah, and Jason is saying that he go for some Goose Euro.
I just had a party.
That's the time of year right now.
Yeah, everybody was welcome at my party a couple weeks ago, and I made Goose Euros. You guys, it's so easy. People think goose and like your roast on a deer is no good. You boil your goose or your roast for a deer in a slow cooker. Fill it up with water and put 3-4 tablespoons of white vinegar. White vinegar breaks down your meat. Get that thing boiling. It might take 6, 7, 8 hours, but you're done. Dump it in a colander. Drain all the water out of it. Throw it in a Ziploc bag. Put it in the freezer. You're done. That's it. Break it up. And when you want to use it, like I showed these guys at my party, get beef broth in a pan, boiling hot. Throw that goose or that deer meat in there. And what I did for these guys that night, I used Cavender's seasoning. It's a Greek seasoning. I shook it into boiling beef broth, threw the meat in there. I put the gyros and I made my tzatziki sauce. I went through 4 pans of gyros that night, and there was like 20 on each pan. That's how. Yeah. Yep. So, I mean, that's how it goes. I mean, everybody wants my job. They see me, they can cook better than me. You guys can all cook better than me and do whatever, but try doing what I do. Tommy Hicks, I was up by him one year. Jason knows. It was like 10 below, winds were 20, 30 miles an hour on an open lake. We couldn't see shore. I'm on the back of a snowmobile making what he just said, pulled snow goose on the back of a snowmobile and keeping everybody happy. I mean, it's tough. I've been on Lake Michigan with Larry, 3-4 footers on my hands and knees in his Warrior, cooking, and pans are sliding around, and the camera guy's holding the pan on my burners, and I'm feeding everybody. It's a challenge. Well, you guys were there up in Winneconne. I cooked on my tailgate for you guys.
Yeah.
So.
That was actually really good. That was honestly one of the first. Was it a fish boil? There was a whole bunch of things in there. That was one of my first experiences with something like that. So that was actually really great. Yeah,
we made a fish boil on the shore that day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because someone couldn't eat fish. I think it was Jason can't eat fish or something. So.
Yeah, that's crazy. The other thing that I think about is that there was an event, out on one of the lakes near the river one time. What lake was that, Poygan?
It was out of the Blue Jay Resort.
Yeah, everyone drove out there. You cooked in your big green egg on the and then when we tried to get back into the shores, we're like deteriorating fast.
Oh yeah.
That was a crazy year.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always in the back of my truck for stuff like that. If I know people are going to be there, I throw it in the back of the truck and make stuff for people. It's the grill. I mean, you could take pretty much the worst meat, the charcoal that comes in the big green egg, does all the work for you. So it's pretty cool. Any more questions? Anybody else got something they want?
Jason is saying I think he's allergic to shrimp, and so that must have been why it was a fish boil.
Yeah, that's what we had fish boil. We had shrimp and stuff in there, and he couldn't eat it that day. Actually, you guys, Jason, I mean, you junkies, I met you guys through the show. I mean, you guys are cool. I mean, I made some really super cool friends. I mean, if I ever needed something, I knew you guys would be there, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the other things, well, actually, before I bring that up, we had a question pop up. So let's read that first. How do you get the wild game taste out of goose or duck?
Sue, I know Sue. Sue makes the best primer I've ever had in my life. It was no lie. But Sue, do like I just said. You take and boil them. And you don't have to do anything. You can just put Worcestershire sauce, water, anything. You can just leave water, salt, and pepper in the water. But make sure you put the white vinegar in it because the white vinegar breaks it down and it eats a lot of that stuff up. And then, like I say, you pull it apart when it cools, put it in a bag, and get your beef broth going. It's crazy how fast that meat absorbs that beef broth. It's instant. It turns it, I cooked for Jimmy Gantner. We did Philly steak up at Midwest Assurance. He's sitting next to me. And I didn't even know it was him. I heard his voice. He's talking. Larry and I are making Philly steak sandwiches. And he says, can I have one? I gave him one. He goes, what is this? And I said, Goose. He goes, no way. He's watching me cook, and I gave him another sandwich. I looked down and I said, God dang, your voice sounds familiar. He goes, I'm all right. He was real humble. And then I said, man, are you on TV? He goes, no, you're on TV. I'm just an athlete. I looked down and go, holy shit, Larry. I'm sitting next to Jimmy Gantner. He's eating my food like it's going out of style. So Larry quits cooking. He goes, sits next to Jimmy Gantner. He doesn't even know him from baseball. And I'm like, Larry, he was one of the best baseball players the Brewers had, so that was pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Just stuff like that. I mean, you know how it is.
It is amazing how much food brings people together.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, especially when you do it right. It's like I say, people ask me all the time when I'm out fishing. I got some of my boat friends, whatever, and the people ask me, what's for lunch? It catches you off guard. It's like or do you got any Leroy meats in your truck or whatever? It's just funnier to heck,
That is awesome. Steve is agreeing with you to parboil some of those meats to get that wild game taste out. But I like some of your tips as well. So those are really some unique things to try. When you are adapting a recipe from, a typical or traditional meat to something that's wild game, are there any other edits that you need to do, or typically it translates pretty well?
Well, you guys know, I mean, the biggest problem with people when they're making wild game is, okay, if you shoot a duck or a goose, they don't take the BBs on. The first time one of your guests or your spouse or bites into something or a bone, they get mad. They right away, the taste is gone. You can't do that to people. You know what I'm saying? You guys, I love whitefish, white bass. If you don't cut that little bit of reddish purple meat off of that fish, you're going to have a different tasting fish. Even I can make the best tasting catfish you'll ever have in your life, blackened. But if you don't take that layer of fat between the skin off, it's not going to taste right. You know what I'm saying? So prepare, even venison, you eat a deer, you can't eat, your body does not digest that white tallow or whatever it is on the skin. So you take your time and get rid of it and make it, presentation is huge. Take a couple seconds and make what you want right. So it's, what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, and people, I'm serious, I know guys that work there will not eat a crappie. It's too soft for them. But you also got to remember, if you throw them in a deep fryer, that fryer has to be hot. So if you guys ever go someplace and the batter's coming off your fish, the reason why is the oil was too cold or the fish was frozen when they put the batter on it. You put it in the oil and it didn't adhere to the fish. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that's tips that you're going to find. Any restaurant you go to, it'll tell you in a heartbeat what the fish was like. So.
Those are actually some really great tips. And I was going to ask, what is the tip for a great fish fry? And I think that you're kind of hitting the nail on the head with that, though, is having that right temperature oil. Because I think sometimes people either lose track of it and it's scalding hot and they dump all the fish in really fast anyways, try to make it work, or they start when it's not quite hot enough because they're hungry and they just want to make it work. But I think finding that sweet spot and having the meat prepared correctly, no matter what flavors you use at that point, cooking it right is going to go a long way.
Yeah, Claremont's huge on that. He has that thermometer right in there, and he makes sure he's in that zone all the time. I got an episode coming up of bluegills. There's batter company that's out of Fox Lake, and no, like Dick Smith, same thing. They have the best batter there. You know, it's the new stuff that's coming out, like the knives that we use out of Fox Lake. As long as your fish is ice cold and damp, you throw it in the bag, shake it up, and put it in the fryer right away. Instead of going through the egg, the flour, the batter, and all that stuff, and then half of it comes off in your fryer. You know, at Krager's, at Dick Smith's, they're not sponsored. You know, it's nice, but man, I tell you, Krager's, he's used to work for the people that made the recipe for Kentucky Fried Chicken. So he's like 1 or 2 ingredients off of the Colonel's recipe, and it's phenomenal. His batter is phenomenal, and it stays on your fish, and your oil does not get dirty. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So then, while we're talking batters, do you ever do like homemade beer batters, or you just stick with something easy like that?
Oh yeah. I'm not a huge deep fryer. I mean, yeah, I'm lazy sometimes. Like quick throw them in a deep fryer, but I huge like my daughter's favorite recipe is take walleye in a pan, white wine, onions, leeks, little capers in there, and cover it up and steam it real fast. That white wine, you got to have a sweet white wine because it really puts a ferment to your fish. And then you pull it out and it flakes, and it's, you know, leave the capers and the onions on top of it. That's her favorite recipe. She'll eat that every day of the week pretty much when I cook it. So it's like Northerns. People don't. Torbett's right there saying Krager's is Krager's not lying, man. Mark's hooked on it too. It's dang good. He's only got 3 different types, but it's extra crispy, Cajun, and original, and every one of them, it's phenomenal, and it's so easy to work with. So, I mean, when I was up by Claremont, we caught a big brown trout. Normally, I don't keep them, but I threw it on the grill that night up by him, and all I took was a recipe I got from my neighbor that's from Alaska. I took orange juice, put it over the top of the fish, brown sugar, a little garlic, salt, and pepper, and just covered the top of that fish and put it on a big green egg. And I threw it on a table. I mean, sure, we had some beers, but man, it was gone in a heartbeat. You know, you can't go wrong with putting like oranges and brown sugar over the top of fish like that. So.
Well, those are some really great flavors that you're throwing out, you know, in these last 2 recipes, because I think so often people do kind of get stuck with like fish fry or fish tacos or what else do I do? You know, I think sometimes people like forget about all the delicious options that are out there. So I love hearing you're giving some options that are, you know, if you are using oil, if you are pan frying, if you are, you know, grilling, you know, those are a lot of diverse ways to cook your catch.
Okay. A lot of people don't keep a muskie or a northern. Well, you know why? Because of the bones. They're afraid to clean them. But that is probably the best eating fish you're ever going to have in your life. It's firm. Like when I do it for the show, I'll take bacon and onions in a frying pan, cook them up with a little butter, and I get my northern, I get water boiling hot on the stove, and cube up your northerns in like 2-inch cubes, and put an onion in the water and throw that northern in there. It turns bright white within seconds. Pull it out, put it in a pan, and dunk the drizzle of the onions and the bacon over the top of it. Oh my God. You put that on a table in front of someone and tell me what kind of fish it is. They won't know. It's that damn good.
That's actually really interesting. That does sound good. Mm-hmm. I have to admit that I'm not always a fish eater, which is crazy. I just love fishing. That's why we toss them back. But, you know, a lot of these recipes are actually sounding really great.
Come on, man! You gotta eat fish. If you're on
I mean, like sometimes I do, but
tell
them
your go-to recipe for fish.
Okay, so my go-to fish fry is pretty easy to approach because you know it's breaded and tartar sauce and blah blah blah. So, you know, I do like that, but everything was changed the day that I just call it hot sauce fish. I don't know if there's a name or whatever, but you take the fish.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of like a thinner fillet. I don't know. Some people like a really thick fish. I like a really thin one, to be honest. So then you put it in Frank's red hot sauce. Oh, and then, I don't know, you leave it there for 30 minutes, an hour. How much time do you got? Whatever, you get distracted drinking or doing something else. I don't know, come back. And then you put it into, you know, a mixture. I like a little bit of cornmeal, panko. I don't know, throw some breading in there. I'm nothing so specific. But that hot sauce has so much flavor, but it does not make it spicy. And so when you fry it and you take it out, it's just like really good.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know the commercial. I put that shit on everything, Frank.
Yeah, I do. I do now.
That's the biggest complaint I got right now at this. A lot of these lakes going 3 fish over 18 for walleye. You get a 19 or 20-inch walleye home. It's so thick. I cut mine right down the middle. Like you say, I fillet mine thinner. And I mean, one big 20-inch walleye will feed 3-4 people. You cut it back through the middle like that, So, I mean, I understand why they're doing it, but that's just like the Panoptics. That's huge. I don't want to get in too bad, but it's killing them. I mean, when you can tell exactly what kind of fish is down in the bottom and how to catch it, it's not good. It's going to clean these lakes out fast, especially when they make it where everybody can afford them. So.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, though, that you're making. So, like, if you're going to keep panfish, you need, a little haul of them, depending on how many fish you're making, But if you're feeding just a few people and you have a northern or two, I mean, that really can go a really long way.
Oh, hell yeah. A 30-inch, 32-inch northern in the wintertime, you can feed 4 or 5 people like that, and it's a dang good fish. I mean, seriously. I can make it in the frying pan, too, in the oven. I mean, the best way to clean a northern is you know how to do it, right? Anybody ever an old buddy, I went to a party. This guy had to be almost 85, 90 years old. He walks out, he goes, "Shotgun, let me tell you how to clean this fish without touching." I'm like, okay. Chop the head and the tail off, put it in a pan, put it in your microwave, put about 1 inch of water in the pan, and open up one corners, and turn the microwave on 2 minutes. And then he said, you go in and feel the fish. If it's not loose, put it on for another 2 minutes. He said, usually between 4 and 5 minutes, you go in there and just touch that fish, and every piece of meat comes off that bone, the skin and everything, and you don't have to use a knife. And it doesn't cook the fish. Somehow the steaming of it loosens it off the bone, and he showed me that a couple weeks later, showed me how to do it. I'm like, that was insane how that northern came off that bone. And it was all there was a carcass there. And it was
That's crazy.
The only problem is it stunk the house up a little bit.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah, you need a garage microwave for that.
Well, being a single guy, I mean, what the hell? I couldn't get ready. I was laughing. I'm like, whoa, that was awesome how he did that. So
that is really super unique. I know other than that, there's some really great YouTube videos out there.
Yeah.
But I think what the key is everyone kind of comes up with their own technique after they watch a few. So, see what's out there and let us know what works for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got any questions? The worst thing about wild game, deer, anything like pheasant, stuff like that, don't overcook it. Get your pan medium to medium high, and just before you put it in there, throw I love using cast iron. Throw a little slab of butter in there or bacon grease. I save it on the counter and let it go fast and get it off fast. I mean, people that cook the heck out of something, you're not going to be able to eat it. It's going to taste like shoe leather. I mean, seriously.
Yep.
So.
I'm honestly famous for overcooking meat, so I'm listening to it and I'm like, shoot, I got to work on that.
Okay. On the weekends when I help Larry guide, guess who cooks? Because everybody's like, I don't want to eat Larry's hockey pucks because he throw the burgers on the burner or the grill. Next, something's going on in some shack and he leaves. And he comes back and there's one side's black, the other side's raw.
That is really funny. So you're talking about, cooking things the right way. One of the things that you had hinted at the beginning of the show was a turducken. So is that something that you're planning on making coming up here? Maybe for Thanksgiving?
I had a bunch of people ask me if I'd do it, and I think I'm going to do it Monday at Mayville. I mean, people are invited to come to the golf course. It's up in the air right now. We're trying to find a camera guy. But I'm thinking Monday after 4:00 because they have a pasta bar there. So I'm going to do it. But what you do is you take the turkey breast. I got a wild turkey breast. I'm going to slice it in half so it's butterflied. You take the hammer. You know what hammer I'm talking about for beating the meat to loosen it up. And press it open. Take the duck, same thing. Cut it open, bang it. But in between, I'm putting cream cheese and chives and onions in between each layer. And then you take the same thing with but you got it. The chicken, you have to use dark meat because it's fattier. That's where you get all your juice from because, once again, the turkey is wild. It's not fat, and so is the duck. So you put the chicken on the inside, the dark meat with the fatty part of it. Same thing, bang that out, and you roll it up tight so it looks like a egg roll. You know what I'm saying? Like ho-ho. So it's all wound up like that. And I'm going to throw it on the grill, and then afterwards when it's done, Josh has this super caramel bacon drizzle he's going to put over the top of it, and you slice it up. It looks really cool. It looks like a pinwheel with all the different meats and the cream cheese and the chives and the onions inside there, and you just enjoy. I mean, it's that good. So.
And so you said that people could join you guys on Monday. So now that sounds super delicious, how do people go about doing that?
I'm thinking Well, the pasta bar opens at 4:00 at Mayville, the golf course. So he's got to set that up, and I work till whatever 2:30. So I'm going to fly up there, and we're just going to cook like 7, 8, 10 recipes. That's what I usually do when I do episodes of Larry. I'll go to the studio and try to make as many recipes as possible because I know what's coming up for the show, and then he just coordinates with what's going on and throws them on the show. So right now there was 9 in the books, and I think he's down to 2. So then he calls everybody, let's go. We got to get some more. So meanwhile, as it's going, I'm thinking of stuff for the next time I'm doing recipes with him,
So that's actually a really great question then. Do the recipes just come from your own head? Is it viewer request? Is it?
Private messenger is huge. Like, people private message me and say, hey, try this or send me a recipe. And then I get people sending me the stuff that they used on the show, and they critique it a little bit. And, like Justin and I took his Alfredo and he put something on top like croutons or something, or it looks pretty cool. I mean, his recipe looked better than mine, but I was also doing mine on a boat on Winnebago in 90-degree weather.
So then if people do have like suggestions or things that they want to see you cook, is that something that you take into consideration?
Oh, yeah. That's huge. Seriously. I mean, I do a lot of my own recipes, but people send me stuff, and it's, like I say, the girl I see, she sees the stuff coming in, and it's so many people sending me stuff, and it's not like, it just helps me out to do stuff for the show. And then I critique it with Leroy Meats stuff, and I, exchange it that way. So it works out pretty good, And one thing I got to admit, I've never, ever on the show wrapped anything in bacon. If you can't make something taste good by you don't have to wrap in bacon. There's other ways to make it taste good. I mean, there's seasonings, flavored butter. I mean, there's ways.
There's ways.
So Sue here was reading my mind, and we were wondering why you don't have a cookbook yet.
The cookbook is tough. I have people talk to me. Matter of fact, I had 4 people want me to do my own show. But the problem is I'm in the union, and my insurance is phenomenal. I can't, what I'm saying? I got 2 kids. When my daughter's done with school this year, it might be a different story because, it's, right now she's a senior this year, and I got to look out for her. So when she's done, she goes to college. I might just say, take a day off of work and let's go rock this. Let's go have a fun, do my own show. And I wouldn't mind doing like Guy Fieri, going all over like Wisconsin to the bars and restaurants and trying their fish right, try their burger, like Mayville Golf Course, try their specialty burger and throw it out there and say, here's what's going on this week, So.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we got some awesome recipes or restaurants in the state of Wisconsin,
Yeah.
And you always got to have an old fashioned one on Friday night in Wisconsin. So yeah. All right, seriously, that's what it's all about,
As far as your recipes, though, are they published on the website? Do you post them to Facebook, or we just have to go back and listen to this podcast and write everything down as you're saying?
That's how it was supposed to start off with Larry's webpage 3-4 years ago. All my recipes, when I got done with the show, I write them down. He was going to post them in and then hit on them. But of course, with all the other junk going on, it's hard. I asked my son to do it and do it through my webpage on Shotgun Chef Facebook, and now he's 20 years old. He's working by me full time, chasing, whatever, geese, ducks, and maybe a girl. I don't know. So.
Plus, in this episode alone, you've given us like 50 recipes, so it's hard to keep up with publishing that many.
And then the best part is I see people say, hey, what did you put in that recipe? And it might have been 5-6 years ago. I ran a guy in the river in Koshkanon. He said, I got every one of your recipes that I remember that you made in a drawer at home. He's been watching the show for writing them down each week and quick writing them down, or, taking a picture of what I cooked and writes it down and does it. I'm like, that's insane.
You should hire that guy because the rest of us want those recipes.
Yeah. It is what it is. You just take anything that you see at a restaurant, just flip and put wild game in it. Just like I say, don't leave the BBs. Don't leave. If you're out in the field and you shoot a deer, take a second, wash and clean it. Take the hair. Do what you got to do, because if a person sees it, they're going to say, everybody that walks on my house that we're eating, I'm going to tell them right now, here's what you're eating. I'm not going to surprise you. And you're going to taste like, okay, that's wild game. I can't believe that. Well, you guys know you tasted my stuff.
Yeah. It's true.
It is true. Yeah. Is there anything out there that you hate to cook or refuse to cook?
Halibut's tough. I mean, it's the best one, or even that, burbot. They are awesome, but it's a fine line from being raw to being overdone. And I mean, if you're not watching what you're doing, it turns to junk in a heartbeat, but they are one of the best things to eat, but you can't walk away from it and you'll be in trouble. It'd be junk. You know what I'm saying? So.
Well, that's actually a really interesting thing that you say that, because so often people hear burbot as being like poor man's lobster. And so people just assume it's going to be so delicious when they cook it. So, are you one of those people that does the boil it in 7-Up, or you choose water and butter, or what is the deal with that?
Water and butter. Hell yeah. And then when it comes out, throw your seasoning on it. Don't put it like people throw seasoning on it on the grill beforehand. You don't have to. Another thing too, when you're cooking food, wild game, especially like tenderloins and venison, leave it on your counter. Make sure it's thawed out. It's not frozen. Leave it on your counter before you go to work, and then it could be 70 degrees, and throw it on a grill. That way, guess what? Your whole meat is not so cold and it's hitting a 350-degree grill that it just sears you outside. It's working its way through the meat faster. So, and your cooking time cuts down faster too. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So, I throw olive oil and my seasoning on my tenderloins here in the morning before I go to work, and leave cellophane over the top of it, and then I come home at night and throw it on the grill. But I also let it sit and season afterwards, because then all your seasoning is going to be on top of your meat. So.
Steve is also making a great point, saying that the burbot has to be fresh when you make it, but I would imagine that's true with almost anything that you cook, that it's better when it's fresh.
Yep. I did on a show a couple years ago. I had a bunch of walleyes I caught. Best way to do it is clean your fish up, get them wet, throw them on a cookie sheet, and throw them in your freezer. The coldest freezer you got, don't cover them. Just leave them in there overnight. They'll be frozen next day. Bang them on the counter off that sheet and put them in a freezer bag. That way they stack up and they're frozen that fast. And they last a long time like that in the freezer. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people vacuum seal them. Yeah, that works great. But if you don't have a vacuum sealer, guess what? It's just do it that way. You know what I'm saying? Look, farmers been doing that forever with their vegetables. That's how they do it way back when I was a little kid. The farmers freeze dry their vegetables real fast and do it that way on the pan. Get them wet and freeze them. So
then when you have frozen fish, is there a best way to thaw it so that the texture doesn't get ruined?
Hell yeah. Throw it on a counter, or I put it in a Ziploc bag, put it in a sink with warm water, and let it warm up that way. And as soon as it gets warm, make sure you put it on a counter on top of paper towel or something to get, because you're still going to have that fish juice in your bag or whatever from when you put it in there. I mean, no one's going to have it perfectly, but make sure before you serve it, like when I use that seasoning, the Kragers and the knives and stuff, ice cold water, wash your fish off, take your hands, clean them off, put it in a bag, and boom, in the fryer or whatever you're going to do with them. Always make sure, because there could be one scale or a bone you missed. I mean, even the best filet misses something. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But the mud line, you guys know the mud line's huge in a fish. Yep. Get rid of it. Yeah. That holds a lot of trash, So.
Well, and I like even jumping back to what you said before, when you have a fish, even making sure that you're getting some of that darker tone meat or fat off, because, some people are so worried about, using the entirety of the animal, which is great. That's what you want to do. You don't want to have waste, but you do also at the same time want to have something that once you prepare it, it does taste as good as what you're hoping for.
Oh yeah. And my mom's old school. Guess how she likes her fish? She said, Steve, can you just scale them and take the fins off them? So I have to do that. I scale them, take the fins off, and I bring them over to her, and she puts them in the frying pan with just a little Italian seasoning on them. But when a fish is cooked right, like a crappie or a bluegill or perch, when you bend it, it should pop right off the ribs and the backbone. All you got is one big fillet in your hand. So that's,
Yeah.
Anyway, if everybody's got cast iron, especially wild game, in a cast iron, you throw a little butter in it, it's going to stick to that pan. But once it breaks loose off that pan, that's when you can flip it. If it doesn't come off that, that's like your grill. When you're grilling and your meat's stuck to the grill, leave it. It's not ready to be flipped yet. So, and then when it breaks loose, then you flip it to the other side. That's when you're, so. You a griller, Josh? You the
Oh
griller?
yeah, I got 2 grills sitting outside
You know how to tell what your meat degree is without using a thermometer?
with my
Put your, hand,
fingers.
put your hand up like this, right here, the fat of your thumb.
Yeah,
Push it, no, right here. Push in.
yeah.
When it's loose, that's medium rare. See how it stays in like that? Make your thumb a little tense. When it stays like that, that's medium. When you make a muscle, that's well done.
See, I always learn this. If you go like this, well done, and then that's like medium. You know, you just
Less
go through
medium.
like that.
Yeah, Gordon Ramsay told me that. He said just push your thumb. And wild game too. Okay, you're doing a tenderloin or a steak or something from wild game, like a deer on the grill. Soon as you see that meat where it's not red coming out the juice, it starts clarifying, flip it over, and then you know you're good to go. It's going to be almost the same on the other side, you know. So,
well, and it's really amazing how, like you're saying, like the feel of the meat on the grill. I like to quality control myself every once in a while, but with a digital thermometer, because they're pretty cheap now. But most of the time, if I could just touch it with the tongs, I know what temperature it is. But then every once in a while, I'll check myself, and I'm pretty close, like 5 degrees on either side of where I want to be normally. So and it's very important to let it sit on the counter after you cook it too.
Oh yeah, see, it doesn't work with Smith that way. As soon as I'm done cooking, guess what? It's like, you ever go down the road and see those guys with those trees and the grinder that's spitting the chunks all like that? That's him. As soon as whatever I cook hits the table, right. And it's not even funny. I mean, he's worse than me. I like eating stuff when it's hot, but he'll throw it down as fast as he can. I'm like, Larry, you gotta let it rest for a couple seconds. He's like, I'm too hungry.
That is really super funny. So, I feel like we could talk about this all night, but certainly things have to come to an end at some point. So, for people who do, maybe get back to their kitchens and realize they have a question then, is there still a way that they can come back to you with questions?
Oh, yeah. I'm on Facebook. I got my regular one. Mostly everybody hits me up on Steve Schafer, but I have my Shotgun Chef. But just hit me up on Messenger. That's all everybody does. And then they send me pictures through Messenger too. Here's what I did. I mean, a couple weeks ago, it was crazy. I took a brat. I don't know if you guys saw the episode, but I took a regular brat from Leroy's Meats, the world recipe or state recipe one, and I made a BLT out of it. And I'm still getting people sending me pictures of that sausage. It's insane. I took mayonnaise with the dry Italian seasoning. I stirred it into mayo, but it's got to be Hellmann's, the thick stuff. You put that on the bun. I took cheese and put the brat in there, and I took bacon, lettuce, and tomato and put it inside the bun. And I made it in the studio. There had to be 8-10 people in the studio. They grabbed that brat, and they were like, holy cows. It was that good with that BLT in there, that little bit of seasoning in there.
Yeah.
I still got people mailing me pictures of that. They're sending me pictures of it. So.
That is actually really awesome. That sounds like something that I would make too.
Yes. I'm like, you're gonna be like, holy crap, he was right. I mean, I just took regular American cheese, the yellow stuff, and sliced it in half, put it on one side, and then I put the brat in and put all the seasoning on top. But the main thing is get your mayonnaise with the dry Italian seasoning, Hidden Valley one, stir it up, put your finger in it, taste it so it's not too strong, then wipe it on your bun and put everything in there, and then sit down and watch what people say when they eat that. It was crazy good.
That's awesome.
That is actually really awesome. Gosh, makes me sad that we had dinner just right before this episode.
Well, that's the problem with people, like if they show up next Monday, if we do cook, it's like the first recipe comes out and they pound it down. As a relax, guys, because there's going to be 7, 8, 9 more. You don't want to kill yourself in the first one because then you're so full you don't want to taste the last ones.
Right. That's funny.
That is really funny. Oh my gosh, awesome. So you had talked about your Facebook pages, which is super awesome. And then also, the Larry Smith Outdoors Facebook page, you definitely are on there occasionally, and certainly those episodes. Do you happen to know when that airs?
What's that?
The show? I guess I didn't prepare you for that. Sorry.
Yeah, it's on at 7:30 on Saturday mornings and at 10:30 on Saturday mornings and Sunday too. It's on. If you look on the TV, guys, it's also on YouTube. We're now on satellite. He's on so many different chapters of how to watch a show. It's crazy. I mean, That's why I'm getting so many friend requests now because he's all over the world with the satellite now.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, who do I say yes to? I mean, I don't know these people, but yet they want to see because they see me on the show. It's weird, you know.
Well, you only get to choose 5,000 of them, so choose wisely.
Oh, is that what it is? The limit is 5,000?
Yeah, for your personal page.
Okay, yeah, I would never go that high. There's no way. Then there's hundreds of people with birthdays every day. Do you say happy birthday every day to 100 people? Well, you guys know when you guys are out, people know you guys are famous. I mean, like I said, with this girl I've been seeing, we go someplace, they got a camouflage hat on or something, or some kind of fishing out. They know who you are. They say hi to you, and it's crazy. It's funny,
I think people more recognize us on the Wolf just because they're like, aren't you guys always here? Don't you guys have a job? They don't know. I don't think they know that we do podcasts. I think they just think we're there camping out on our boat all the time.
Oh yeah, that day we were on Rainbow Park. You guys, something happened, and we were crushing a fish before.
Yeah.
Like, you got to get here. You guys were, something happened, and you couldn't get to Rainbow in the morning. My son and I didn't start pouring on us. I think you guys only fished for a little while that day, and we had our limit of walleyes. We were pulling flies that day. It was crazy.
Yeah, that day I remember because we actually did run into a little bit of stuff. We got there a little bit late. You guys fished for a bit while we were there, and then you pulled out. But then Emily and I ended up floating back into Rainbow Park a little bit.
Yeah.
And there's like a slow no wake buoy, but right in front of it, or right behind it, one of the two, there's like a 3-foot hole.
Yep.
And we ended up finding that, and there was a bunch of catfish laying in there, and we ended up catching a bunch of catfish.
I remember you guys saying with a picture, you guys had catfish. Yeah.
Actually, that was awesome. I do remember that.
Yeah.
No, I was wondering which trip was this. The catfish trip. Yeah.
You guys keep the catfish?
No.
Do you? Next time, keep one and give me a call after you fillet it up. Get the mud off it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I got a Blackened Recipe.
Oh.
That I did with a girl that won a trip, said, come on in the show, cook with me. I blackened catfish because otherwise I don't like them because they're so greasy, oily. So when I blackened it in a cast iron pan, it came out and she's like, holy crap. She still sends me pictures. She blackens everything now. just the seasoning on the fish. She had loved the catfish so much. She did catfish after that, but she keeps sending me pictures of stuff that she blackens after that.
That's awesome.
That is actually really awesome.
It is. So yeah, even your crappies. I know you guys and your crappies, but
yeah.
Oh my goodness. All those good times on the water.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess with that, I'm looking forward to the next good time. Don't know when that'll be. Maybe ice at this point.
Yeah, you guys and your ice fishing. Like I said, Mike's from Mike's Country Meats. He wants me to go up to Shawnee Lake, and I mean, he's got a place for me to stay. I'll let you guys know when I come up there because that's not that far from you guys.
Yeah, that's
super
right
close.
in our wheelhouse.
Plus, you're always welcome to stay here, Steve. You let us know.
I know. For some reason, I think I know where you guys live. So, so how long has it been, you guys? 1.5 years now, or 2 years? How long have you been married? Oh, Josh, you're in trouble.
Well, how long has it been, Emily?
I looked at Josh.
Look at her. She doesn't even...
That's the thing. Time flies when you're having fun.
It's
and
been-
Hold on, here's a
It's been
trivia question, you guys.
2.5
Everyone's
years.
watching right now. Here's a
2.5
trivia
years.
question. You can tell me how long these guys are married. You can go fishing with those two for free one day.
You can come fishing with us for free anyways.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, whoever's watching right now, if they can tell me how many years you guys been married, they can go fishing with you guys for free.
Feels like 100. If you guessed 100.
Oh, you are so full of crap.
Well, it feels like just a couple days to me.
Gee, that boy Josh Knuckles, that'll take you longer.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
It's got to be 1.5 years. I bet you it is.
I think it's 2.5 years.
Yeah.
It was it was May 28th, 2019.
All right.
Crazy.
When I got off from work today, Cody was here and I saw his ice fishing stuff out. He's got it sitting up to your stuff you guys sold us. And I'm like, oh my God, kid, knock it off. He goes, it's getting colder out, Dad. I'm like, it's not that cold yet.
It's not that cold. Yeah, I tried wearing a hoodie today and I sweated way too much.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. So no more
Oh gosh,
questions.
Steve is saying we're still in the honeymoon years. Steve is, if this is the good part, then I don't know what's coming. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, you know,
We
you
still
guys
may get
know
a boat together, so we're okay.
you know who Steve Klein is?
Well, I would feel bad if I said no, but I'm not sure.
Well, I
if there's
mean,
Just say no. He they own Wentz Marina, Winnebago. I've had him.
oh,
I've had him on a couple of times with me and Madison this year. Hooked him up on the bluegills, and he's in love with them. I mean, he lives on Bago catching perch, but he's come down a couple of times with his Lund, and I showed him on Madison chains how to catch them big 9, 10, 11-inch bluegills, and he's been down there a couple of times. I mean, he loves it.
that's awesome.
That is one of the best fights. When you can catch a bluegill in 20-some feet of water, and especially at 9 or 10 inch, and they just turn sideways, you can't get them off the bottom. It's a blast. So.
Well, Steve, I can help you catch some bluegills a little bit more local if you're interested, but I can't even tell you how many times I've launched out of Wentz and not caught a burbot. So for treats.
Hold on, hey, you get a hold of Steve when he'll let you know, because they come in that 3-4 feet of water right by their boat launch there. That's where Larry and I caught them every
You
year.
would not believe how many miles I walked across that ice frozen lake one day and never caught a dang fish.
Never caught a fish?
Not a burbot. Not that
Oh,
day.
you're
No,
not gonna...
I put in a lot of footsteps.
Well, the last couple of years we've been, well, last year for burbot was a little weird because we had that warm up.
Yep.
And that whole spawn kind of fizzled out pretty quick.
I heard it went fast.
But the year before, yeah, we didn't do very well.
Oh, you
We
gotta
missed it.
hit Steve up on private messenger. I've given him so many tips on where to go. I mean, I know how to cook, but it's like I'm a pretty good stick too. I catch a lot of fish, and I help him up. But he also keeps bugging me coming up to Bago because he does know that system. I mean, his dad's got a pontoon. He's got a nice Lundy fish out of. So if you ever want something, I mean, he's that kind of a guy, you know. So
awesome.
But he also, you know what they do, right? The Wentz, they take care of the lake. They move the bridges, they plow the roads. I mean, they are the best.
They do an awesome job with that.
They're phenomenal. That's how Larry goes every single day. He pretty much calls the Wentz and says, the clients say, what are we doing today? Because they'll move the bridges. They'll tell them where the best ice is. Those guys are crazy. And then all the times they cut ice for sturgeon spearing, they work their butts off them boys. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, Steve's a good guy. I like Steve. So I say I met so many cool people. You guys, I don't even know how many people I've met just from the show. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, we have found that we love making the connections through fishing too, and I think that's even what a lot of the people at home can identify with. You know, no matter who it is that you're out there meeting, that's always a really great time.
And I mean, a lot of sports. You look at sports, and there people get real picky about. Oh, you're in my spot, so like. I'm not that way. I mean, if I'm out there, you know, I mean, I called you guys, come on out, let's go to Rainbow, and, you know, and just share your wealth, man. It's, you know, I got enough fish in the freezer. I mean, if you were really that hard up for a deer or fish or something, then it's not fun. You know, I like going out there and sharing my wealth and saying, here's how to do it, and let's do it, you know. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
For sure. So I guess with that, it's been a whole lot of fun. But Shotgun, thanks for being here tonight.
I told you guys it would be all right. I mean, you know.
Yeah, oh yeah, of course. Yeah, it has always been fun.
It's a different segment with me. There's no doubt about it. There's no sleep here neither. It's constantly rolling. Gotta go. You know.
That is for sure. But to the people at home too, thank you guys for being here with us as well, because that's part of the fun. Always love hearing what everyone has to chime in and say, and you know how that guides the conversation. That's awesome. So with that, I guess love seeing everybody and looking forward to next week's episode of The Night Bite.
Night, everybody.
See you guys.